Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into a topic that feels, well, pulled from tomorrow's headlines, the future of genetic engineering.
Yeah, it's got incredible promise, definitely, but also some potential perils we really need to get our heads around.
Absolutely. And we've been digging into a source that paints this really vivid, if fictional, picture of it all. Excerpts from a book called Genetic Engineering, Playing God with Life.
That's the one. It lays out a whole potential history.
So our mission here in this deep dive is to unpack the key ideas from this source. Like, what does this narrative suggest about how powerful biotech could reshape, well, everything? Society, money, even how wars are fought.
What lessons, maybe cautionary tales, this hypothetical future might hold for us, right now.
The source material seems to take us on quite a journey.
Oh, it does. From these kind of utopian dreams straight into a global crisis and then, well, a sort of fragile recovery afterwards.
And it's all seen through the lens of us gaining this immense power over, like, the code of life itself.
Exactly. It starts by setting the stage, imagining this world arrives much faster than we might think.
A world where we're not just treating diseases.
No, curing them, fundamentally. And then enhancing ourselves, designing our kids.
Right. Let's get into what that early stage looked like, according to the book.
Okay, so the first section the book dives into is called The Genesis of Perfection. And it talks about this huge leap by 2045.
This is CRISPR-X you mentioned.
Yeah, CRISPR-X, fourth generation gene editing.
And the big deal was the precision, right?
Totally. The source says it achieved error-free embryo alteration. Like perfect editing of life itself. Think about that.
Wow. Okay, so what happens immediately?
Well, in wealthy countries, the impact was astounding. Major diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, most cancers, they just started to disappear.
Just gone.
Pretty much, yeah. But, they didn't stop at cures.
Right, because if you have that precision.
Exactly. Enhancement became the next big thing. The source talks about the engineered.
These are the designer babies, essentially.
Yeah, basically. Born in private clinics, enhanced to be faster, stronger, smarter, you name it.
And they cost.
Millions. The book says parents saw it as the ultimate legacy. An investment, really, in an optimized child.
It must have caused some regulatory headaches.
Oh, for sure. Governments tried to put the brakes on, tight controls initially, but the corporate drive? It was immense.
Too much money to be made.
You got it. The most lucrative industry imaginable. So companies pushed, found loopholes, exploited everything.
And this didn't it create some kind of new market?
Yeah, something pretty wild. The Genetic Futures Index, or GFI.
GFI.
It wasn't just niche, it was a whole new branch of the stock market. All about genetic editing, enhancement, designer embryos, even biomodification implants.
Implants, too. Wow. And how big did...
Yeah. Get this, the source claims within just 3 years, it dwarfed big tech and big pharma combined.
That's unbelievable. An overnight boom like that.
Well, the promise driving it was just
Salvo.
so powerful. Maybe not immortality, but indefinite health span. A long, healthy life. That's a huge lure.
So everyone piled in.
Totally.
The source ends that part with a kind of ominous note, right?
Yeah. It says humanity grabbed this power, but never asked what it would find at the top. Sort of a warning.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the initial explosion. How does this play out globally? The next section you mentioned, stocks, strains, and shadows.
Right. This bit delves more into the financial mania and its darker side.
It focuses on one company, is that right? Region Core.
Yep. Region Core. They had this breakthrough product called BioEdge.
BioEdge. What did it do?
It was a cognitive enhancement package for embryos. Promised something like a 30-point IQ increase.
30 points. That's huge.
Exactly. And the market reaction.
And
Total frenzy.
the IPO must have been massive.
Oh, yeah. Launched a GFI explosion. Region Core hit an $800 billion valuation almost overnight.
Good grief. Who was investing? Just the usual suspects.
Well, the source notes that investors who felt they missed out on, crypto or early AI, they just flooded in. Big pension funds, even ethics boards, weirdly enough. Everyone wanted a piece.
Ethics boards investing in genetic enhancement.
Apparently so. The pull was that strong.
And this led to a specific term.
Yeah, Wall Street called it genetic alpha.
Genetic alpha.
It meant like competitive investing based on betting on the future success of specific enhanced individuals, literally investing in someone's genes.
That feels uncomfortable.
It is. And the source highlights this major split happening in the market.
How so?
Companies doing the expensive elite enhancements for the rich, their stocks soared. But those working on actual cures or therapies for, regular people, they kind of languished.
So the money followed the enhancement, not necessarily the broad healthcare needs.
Precisely. And
Yeah.
then there was the shadow side.
The underground clinics.
Exactly, popping up in unregulated zones. The book mentions Lagos, Karachi, Buenos Aires as hubs.
And they weren't offering the fancy approved stuff.
No way. These were black market genetic cocktails, untested, risky, offering crates, maybe not for loving parents, but
Warlords.
things like boosted agility, aggression, suppressing empathy, stuff useful for fighters, not kids.
Okay, so you have this incredible tech, huge money, a black market.
Yeah.
It had to spill over into conflict, right?
Inevitably. By 2050, according to the source, we had the new rules of war.
Did anyone try to stop it, like the UN?
Yeah, the book says the UN formally declared biological enhancements as weapons of war,
Right.
but it was basically ignored. The genie was out of the bottle.
So what did this new warfare look like? The book gives examples.
Oh, yeah, very specific ones. China supposedly had Project Zuyi,
You.
soldiers engineered for extreme pain resistance. They could operate without sleep, regenerate tissue rapidly.
Wow. And the US?
They had the Atlas program units, APUs, gene-hardened super soldiers.
Sleeper soldiers. Okay, what made them super?
The source mentions neuro-linked battlefield intelligence and something called hive mind communication.
Hive mind. Like,
Yeah.
they're all connected mentally.
That's the implication. Sharing data, tactics instantly. A coordinated unit mind.
That changes everything. It wasn't just the big powers either, was it?
No, private military contractors jumped in. The book mentions Geneprint, a Russian firm. They had Tiger units.
Tiger units.
Bred for urban combat, high aggression, immune to most nerve agents, ruthless.
So conventional armies just became obsolete.
Pretty much. Forget long sieges. Battles were fast, brutal, over in days.
And civilians.
Often just collateral,
Yeah.
caught in the middle of these super fast, super violent conflicts. It also shifted geopolitics, right? The psychology of power.
Totally. If you had biotech superiority, you didn't need to rely on economic threats or cyber stuff as much. You could just flex your military genome.
Rivals would just back down.
Often.
Yeah.
The source puts it bluntly.
Hmm.
The balance of power wasn't about ideology anymore. It was about gene lines, a chilling thought. This military reality, it stemmed from that divided world the book describes next. Right?
Absolutely. The gap became a chasm. You had the engineered class on one side.
The ones born enhanced.
Right. Genetic selection, enhancements, even memory conditioning sometimes.
Memory conditioning. To do what?
The book describes it as shielding them from trauma, selectively softening emotions, making them optimized, I guess.
Optimize humans. Where did they end up?
Leadership roles. Running the biotech firms, in political office, ruling these protected smart cities, behind drone swarms and climate domes.
On the other side.
The naturals, the unenhanced, often older, sicker, basically confined to these decaying mega slums, shut out.
A really grim picture. Did the naturals just accept it?
Not all of them. Some got desperate, tried to compete using those black market bootlegs.
The risky stuff from the underground clinics?
Yeah. But the source says it often led to gene burnout.
Gene burnout. What's that?
Cellular collapse, basically.
Yeah.
Faulty gene splicing, making their own bodies attack themselves.
Oh.
Catastrophic rejection.
Horrifying. But there was resistance.
Uh-huh. A global movement called the Unwritten.
Who were they?
A real mix. Rogue scientists who saw where things were going, naturals fighting back, even some enhanced who defected.
What did they do? Sabotage.
Stuff like that. Hacking genome registries, leaking CRISPR blueprints, exposing the secret military programs. Trying to level the playing field, I suppose.
Did they have a manifesto or something?
Yeah, the book quotes a core message. It's powerful. They play God while we bleed. They promise evolution but sell segregation. Genes are the new chains.
Genes are the new chains. Wow, that frames it starkly. Genetic status as the ultimate divider.
Exactly.
So into this divided, tense world, the book introduces an insider, right? Dr. Alara Voss.
Yeah, the whistleblower character. She was
Yeah.
chief ethics officer at Rigencor, the big enhancement company.
Was she always against them?
No, not initially. Her job was overseeing trials. The source says her big mistake was actually believing the board cared about ethics. Naive, maybe.
What changed your mind?
She found something. Project Heracles.
Heracles.
A secret enhancement package. They'd spliced it into 2,000 embryos. Without parental consent.
Without consent, just did it.
Yep. And when Voss tried to object, they buried her protests, revoked her access, smeared her reputation using manipulated news feeds, The works.
So she had to run.
Yeah, she fled. But she managed to grab a data cube on her way out.
The classic whistleblower move. What was on it?
Explosive stuff. Full genome maps of those Heracles kids. They were about 10 years old by then.
Were they different?
Oh, yeah. Performing way beyond human norms. The book gives examples like one solving quantum gravity equations at age 8.
At 8? Seriously?
Uh-huh. Another running their father's biotech company at 11.
The book calls them.
Post-human. That's the term used.
Okay, that's already terrifying. But you said there was something worse on the cube.
Yeah. Genomic trigger codes embedded right into their DNA.
Trigger codes. Meaning what?
Meaning remote control. These weren't just enhancements, they were backdoors. The codes could be activated to crank up aggression, shut down empathy, or even just induce a coma.
They built in an off switch. Or a kill switch.
Yeah. Or a weaponization switch. As Dr. Voss tells the unwritten leader in the book, it's a chilling quote. They didn't just design them, they designed control.
Control. Wow, okay, so this secret, this ticking time bomb, sets the stage for the crisis.
Exactly. The next section, crisis and catalyst, the turning point.
This is the crash in 2057.
That's it. It starts with a mutated synthetic virus, Edit 5.
Where did it come from?
One of those underground gene clinics, Mexico City this time.
And it was designed for?
Immune enhancement, ironically. But it went wrong, horribly wrong in the unenhanced population.
How?
It apparently recombined with dormant retroviral DNA stuff already in many naturals' genomes. And that triggered this systemic genetic rejection.
Rejection, like the gene burnout thing.
Way worse. The symptom described is identity decay.
Identity decay. What does that even mean?
Memories getting scrambled, personalities rewriting themselves as the person's own genome tries to fix the damage. It wasn't just physical, it was an attack on who you were.
That's profoundly disturbing.
Yeah, and the fallout. Immediate.
Oh,
Global.
Markets crashed.
Oh, yeah. The GFI lost 60% in 2 days. Biotech giants collapsed. Ridgencor, others, gone. Governments facing lawsuits. Militaries had to stand down.
Why the military?
Fear that their own enhanced soldiers could succumb, go feral, lose control because of this virus. Total paralysis.
So complete chaos.
Pretty much. And in that chaos, Dr. Voss saw her chance.
To use the data cube.
Exactly. With help from the unwritten, she did something drastic. She broadcast everything. The full Heracles genome data and the code for the Edit 5 virus.
To whom?
Everyone. Open access biology networks. Put it all out there.
Why would she release the virus code too? That seems dangerous.
High risk, high reward, maybe? The idea was if everyone had the code, someone could find a countermeasure.
And did they?
Amazingly, yes. Millions of amateur biohackers, independent scientists, they jumped on it. Crowdsourced biology.
And they found something.
Within 2 weeks. A natural-derived immune patch.
Natural-derived.
Yeah, the source makes a point of that. No enhancements needed, it says.
So the solution came from the old biology, not the new.
Kind of poetic, isn't it? And the book calls this whole episode the crash, the open source response, the natural cure, the definitive turning point.
Which leads to a final section we looked at. Rewriting the rules.
Right. The world after Edit 5, it's described as quieter. Change.
How so? Regulations must have tightened.
Massively. Stock markets were rebuilt, sure, but with strict ethical oversight on biotech and gene editing purely for enhancement banned in 83 countries.
83. That's a huge shift. What about warfare?
New treaties, redefining combat rules based on genome status. Engineered soldiers had to register their edits, wear biosignature tags, accountability.
But the source suggests the biggest change was deeper than rules.
Yeah, it was perspective, that illusion of superiority the enhanced class had. It just cracked, shattered, really.
Because they almost destroyed everything.
Exactly. The book really hammers this point. The enhanced, with all their design perfection, their hubris, nearly wiped everyone out. And who saved the day?
The natural.
The naturals, using, as the source puts it, raw adaptability and resilience, the very traits no algorithm could quantify.
Adaptability beats design perfection.
Yeah.
Interesting. What happened to Dr. Voss?
She became a key figure, helped set up the Global Genome Trust.
What was that?
An independent body. Scientists, ethicists, crucially, both enhanced and natural citizens, overseeing any genetic intervention going forward.
And transparency became key.
Absolutely. All human genome code had to be open source, publicly auditable, no more secrets like Project Heracles.
So the legal lines were clear now.
Redrawn, yeah.
Go ahead.
Designing children. Illegal. But curing disease, that remained legal, even prioritized.
So not a perfect world, but...
A fragile balance is how the book sums it up. They found a way, but it was precarious.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive into this source,
Right.
the book ends with an epilogue, right? Dr. Voss's Nobel lecture in 2064.
Yeah, and her core message, the ultimate lesson the source pulls out, is really powerful. To play God is not to create. It is to do so without care for consequence.
Doing it without thinking through the results. That seems to be the recurring theme.
Definitely. The book reflects that maybe humanity didn't go down this path out of pure evil. Maybe it was curiosity, ambition, fear of being left behind.
Understandable drives, in a way.
But dangerous ones? Still, the narrative suggests humanity learned, eventually.
But at a huge cost. The final lines you mentioned.
Yeah, the cost of becoming gods was nearly forgetting how to be human. We remembered just in time.
Chilling. So this deep dive, using this fictional source, it's given us a shortcut through some incredibly complex ideas, right? A whole potential history condensed.
Absolutely. Lots of nuggets of knowledge, surprising twists in that narrative.
So thinking about this fictional history, it leaves us with a big question, maybe for you listening. Given how this story played out, the near disaster from design perfection, the salvation from inherent adaptability, what traits do you think are truly essential for our future? Is it engineered optimization, or is it that raw, messy, unpredictable resilience?
Or maybe, looking at the gene editing tools we have now, the question is more immediate. How do we make sure this incredible power is used for healing, for everyone's well-being, and not as a tool for control or division or creating those kinds of genetic chains the resistance feared? Lots to think about. Keep exploring, keep asking those critical questions.